Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com, and today let's talk about the critical step that most people skip before mixing. That's really important to getting your song to sound amazing, and that is our goal. That's your goal, that's my goal, is to create amazing sounding songs that we're proud of, that will advance our career if we're doing this professionally, or we'll just be able to say this sounds like the stuff on the radio. And that step is editing. This is the often overlooked, boring step that nobody seems to care about, but all the pros do it. So if you want to have professional sounding recordings, then you don't want to skip this step. And what I want to show you today is 3 areas that I really spend time editing when I'm releasing a track. Number 1 is on the bass guitar, tightening it up to the kick drum. So important for the groove of your song, I don't care what genre it is, to feel bigger and to feel tighter. The second area is vocal pocketing, which is really important for the vocals to just have that vibe and just sit so nice in the song. And then vocal breaths and mouth noises. One of the most common amateur mistakes I hear when I review a mix from a student or a young up-and-coming producer is breaths and mouth noises on the vocals that were not edited out. Maybe they don't notice them. Maybe they think they're fine. They're not fine. Usually they're a distraction. So what I want to show you inside of Pro Tools is how I physically do this and how I like to clean up those 3 areas. There's lots of other places you can edit, but I want to focus on those 3 today. All right, so here we are with my session. And some of this has been edited. Some of this hasn't, just sort of for explanatory purposes. What I want to show you first is how I tighten up the bass. So if you zoom in here, I've got going into one of these choruses here. You'll see some breaks and chops up and stuff on this green track here, which is the bass. And these represent some of my edits. Now, if I drag this original audio back, what you're going to see is the original performance from the top of the chorus halfway through. Take a listen to bass and drums. All right, it's not bad, but there's a couple of areas that are a little off, and you heard them kind of here. It comes in a little early. It's coming in earlier than the kick drum. You can even see it line up that way, right? This is the downbeat here, and the kick drum on the drum loop above us is right on the downbeat, and this bass is just a little too before it. I don't mind it being, fluid, but that's a little sloppy. Ba-boom, it's a little too obvious. And then same thing here. This one's not so bad right here. That's a little before the beat, but I don't mind that as much as it is right going into this downbeat here. Ba-dum-bum. Clearly, I'm hitting before the crash and the kick. And this was me playing the bass. This is my sloppy bass playing. So what I've done here, if I undo that drag back, these were the edits that I made. And what I like to do is literally go in Pro Tools, there's something called slip mode, which allows you to not be on the grid so you can have a little more control. And what I'd like to do is go right up to the downbeat of a hit, okay? So this is really the beginning of the bass note, not the downbeat I should have said, but just the beginning of the transient. In Pro Tools, it has this great feature called tab to transient. You click that, and then what you can do is hit the tab key on your keyboard, and it shifts the cursor right up to the next transient. So then I can use the B key to make a break, and I can then back in my grid mode where it snaps to the grid, I can click and drag this bass guitar right on the grid, or I could do it manually if I wanted to. So that's how I do things. I'll slice the bass note right on the note, and then I will slide it manually or lock it to the grid so it's closer to the note I want it to be. And what you get is a tighter performance just by ear. I leave most of them alone unless I hear something. So here we go. there. It sounds so much bigger when the kick and the bass hit nicely at the same time or close to it. Everything feels bigger. So I walk through systematically with my bass performances and try to tighten them up to the kick drum on the drums, whether it's a drum loop, a beat, or real drums performed by a drummer. This makes a huge difference in your song. The second area I do a lot of work in is with vocal pocketing. And I've done some videos on this in the past, but pocketing is really simple. Hopefully, the vocal performance, is in time and has a nice groove. But a lot of times, vocalists are thinking about pitch, lyrics, and emotional delivery at the expense of potentially vibe and rhythm, where they don't get nuanced on the timing of their singing, and that can go down the drain a little bit or not be as good as it could be. So what I like to do with any vocalist is go through the vocal track and then make sure that I'm listening to the vocals, especially with the drums. So let's get drums and bass here. And make sure that the timing of the vocals is where it should be, because a lot of times the vocals are a little bit rushed, so you can slide them back in time just a hair, and it gives a lot of vibe to the song. Let's take a listen where we are.
I was on the wrong side of a smoking gun. You better believe I regret more than half that I've done. And I was on the wrong side of a political line, saying yes to all the so-called progress of our time. But then I heard a whisper in my ear.
So far this is pretty good. I think I left most things as is, but here, let's say,
saying yes to all the
like what you could do is just grab this, get into slip mode here, and just drag it ever so slightly behind the beat.
saying yes to all the so-called progress of our time.
And just that little bit of sliding it behind the beat, just a hair, gives it a little bit more vibe. That was a take it or leave it example. It was fine the way it was, but you can get a little bit more vibe if you slide it back. Sometimes it's a little more obvious where they've rushed. Let's see where we are here in the chorus.
Not spending the rest of my life.
Let's get rid of the delay.
Not spending the rest of my life holding on to what I've done. I won't carry the weight of my crimes, yeah.
So right here,
Holding on to what I've done.
that's not bad, holding on to what I've done.
Holding on to what I've done. I won't.
So what I might do is might break this here and then slide this back a little bit.
Holding on to what I've done. I won't. Holding on to what I've done.
And actually, I think the first part, I'm going to put it back where it was.
Holding on to what I've. Holding on.
And then I'll put it together.
Holding on to what I've done. I won't carry the weight of my crimes, yeah. I'm just bury it. I won't put out the fire tonight.
Just bury it. Maybe I might slide that back a bit.
I'm just bury it. I'm just bury it.
And anytime you're doing any kind of sliding like this, you're going to probably want to create a crossfade here. That will get rid of any pops or clicks when you butt up one slice of audio to the next. It'll be nice and smooth.
Bury it. I won't put out the fire tonight.
So I'll go through systematically and just slightly adjust phrases or words, either to get them back in time if I sang it off or the vocalist sang it off, or to put it slightly behind the beat to give it just a little more, just being more in the pocket, as opposed to being right on the beat. You want it to have a little bit more vibe than that. And then the second major edit I'll do on vocals is cleaning up breaths and any kind of mouth noise. This is a huge issue I hear when I review mixes for students. They'll leave a lot of this stuff in, and I think it's because they don't realize they can take it out or how noticeable it is. And if you just listen to the vocals, you'll hear some of it.
I was on the wrong side of a smoking gun. You better.
Right there, right? Now, will you hear that in context with the guitars and the drums and the bass? Probably not. But what I like to do is delete it just in case, because sometimes when you start to EQ and sizzle up your mix, those little lip noises, mouth noises become a little more apparent.
Gun.
So then what I would do here is get the last little bit of the breath,
Gun.
and then I'll just add a little bit of fade at the end.
Gun.
And actually, I can hear some of that mouth noise, so let's get rid of that fade and just drag that in a bit more.
Gun. You better.
And then I don't want that abrupt breath either.
You bet.
So I'll just fade it up.
You better believe I regret more than half that I've done. And I was on the wrong.
Now that breath is fine. Breaths are natural, so I'll leave them in where they sound natural.
Say.
Now that's obvious cut. I obviously pocketed that, so the breath got cut in half, so we'll just fade up on the breath, fade out there.
Line. Saying yes to all the.
And so you see what I do? I go through systematically and then get rid of breaths, mouth noises, fade up breaths or transitions into a vocal so they sound more natural, more clean. And that way I know I've got a pocketed, cleaned up vocal that will still sound natural. I don't like to get rid of all the breaths, although that is a valid way to work. There are records that I really admire where there are 0 breaths in the vocals and it still sounds cool. But you don't have to go that extreme. I don't, but I don't like to leave in everything because it's a distraction when I hear the mouth noise or the lip smacks or like an extended breath where there's that anticipation. I don't want to visualize a singer in a studio waiting for their line to come in. You know what I'm saying? I want to have the listener be focused on the song and then the vocal just comes in out of nowhere and it's perfect. So that's a huge part of my editing process. Pocketing and tightening up the bass to the drums, and then really spending time with the vocals, cleaning up breaths and mouth noise and getting it pocketed to the beat. You can obviously take everything and edit it. I will move guitar notes over. You've seen this in the acoustic guitar part. These little breaks here are me pocketing the acoustic guitar performance. I'll do that on lead guitar parts. I'll do that on drum fills. Anything that's a distraction or feels a little too forced and I'm playing the song, I'd like to just make it sound a little more musical. Go ahead and slightly move things. But remember, if you move anything, do it in bigger chunks if you can. Use crossfades to get rid of any pops or clicks, and then listen back in context with the rest of the song and make sure it sounds natural. You don't want to doctor with anything and make it unnatural, like you're Frankensteining a song. The point of editing, as a critical step to making your mixes sound good, is to actually make the performance sound even better and still sound natural, not to sound like it was doctored with. No one should ever even notice that there was any editing done. That is the goal of a good edit. Like I said, this is a critical step that is usually overlooked. It's a mixing step right before mixing that needs to be done. It's actually one of 6 steps that every song needs to go through. That's right, there's 6 steps that I take any song idea I have, from idea to releasing it in the world. There are 6 steps that has to go through, editing being one of them. And what I've done to help you out, to give you a little bit more of my framework of how I produce music, is an entire guide that walks you through all 6 steps. It's called my 6 Steps to a Radio Ready Song. It is a simple PDF that you need to download. Get it right now at radioreadyguide.com. We'll put the link right here in the video and below, radioreadyguide.com. What this will do is give you a framework for creating music. So you go from song idea to how do I get it out in the real world to make it sound amazing. I'll walk you through all 6 steps. I give you tips, I give you tricks, I give you insights and best practices that I've garnered from over 15 years of doing this professionally and just for myself for fun. So it's all inside of my 6 Steps to a Radio Ready Song Guide. It's a simple PDF, absolutely free, is my gift to you. So go ahead and click on the link, download it, enjoy, print it up, put it next to your computer when you work, or have it on your tablet or phone whenever you're making music. It will help you get better sounding songs when you're making music. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the videos if you find them helpful. Leave a comment below. Let me know, what do you focus on when you're editing? How do you approach editing? What has been a helpful thing you have discovered when editing your tracks? We'd love to hear it. Talk to you soon.